Hello, it's Adrienne Heights with Rip the Bandage, and I want to talk to you today about suicide. Suicide is one of the hardest things in the world to talk about because, number one, no one wants to admit the fact that they are suicidal or that they have family members that are suicidal. Suicide normally derives from depression. Depression is deemed one of the biggest disabilities in the world right now. From the ages of 12 to 17 and for adults over 50 are the biggest numbers seen in suicide today. This year, one of the youngest people to ever commit suicide was a 6-year-old boy in South Africa. There's also been reports of an 8-year-old in the U.S. who has committed suicide. The biggest thing I would say in thinking about suicide would be, how could a child at 6 or 8, or how could a person, a child, a teenager between the age of 12 and 17 want to take their own lives? How could they know? How has it gotten that bad where no one notices that a child, their brother, their sister, their mother, their father wants to commit suicide? Well, depression is the reason, because a lot of people walk around and they mask their true emotions from the world because they put on a face for the world, one face for the world and another face behind closed doors. I would say be careful how you treat any individual, because you don't know the silent war that they're fighting inside. I can speak on depression. I can speak on suicide from a first-hand basis. My very first time trying to commit suicide, I was 11 years old. How could I want to commit suicide at 11? Well, I had been struggling with being molested. I had been struggling with my dad being on drugs. I had been struggling with seeing my sister raped by my uncle. I've been struggling with not having my biological father present. I had a lot of struggles. I struggled with loneliness. I struggled with bullying. I struggled with a lot of things. And so by 11, I was pretty much tired. I was tired. And the thing that I think that we don't teach our children, and we don't have that conversation to let them know that there are going to be days that you're tired. There are going to be days that you want to quit and want to give up. But those are the days that you fight the hardest, and you have to fight for yourself. You have to find someone to talk to. You have to find someone that can relate to you, and you can say to them, I'm having a really bad day, or I've been really struggling with some things, or I really need to talk to someone because I feel like I'm going to lose it. There's a myth. There's a myth going around saying that you don't have problems. You have problems. It's okay to say it. It's okay to speak up. It's okay to use your voice. For many years, I didn't have a voice, and I feel that child molestation took that voice away from me. I feel that once I got raped years later, it took that voice away from me. And I was, as a young person, I was always a loner. I was that person that stayed to myself. I didn't talk at all. I didn't talk. I had a couple of friends, and I generally picked people who were like me. They were loners. They were to themselves. You know, we could relate to one another. But I really needed someone that I could really say, hey, I'm hurting on the inside. I'm broken on the inside, and I need help. Today, I want you to know that you are not alone, and it's okay to say you need help. I want you to know that you can trust us. I know that sometimes you have adults around you that you feel like you can't trust. Okay, well, find someone that you can. I know that when you're molested, you don't feel that you have a lot of options. You don't feel that there are people that you can talk to and that understand where you are in your life. And so you tend to shut down. You tend to keep to yourself. Sometimes when you're molested, you're threatened and told, if you tell anyone, I'll kill your family, or I'll hurt you, or your parents are going to be mad at you. I was 17 before I told my mom about the child molestation, and it was so hard to do. And I told her in the middle of a breakdown. I was hitting my head up against the car window, screaming, I'm tired, I'm tired, I'm tired. And she, meanwhile, was looking at me like, what is wrong with this child? And I began to tell her everything that I had experienced and why I tried to kill myself so many times. And the exact opposite of what I thought would happen happened. She hugged me. She told me that she was sorry. She told me that she loved me. She told me that she would have done things differently if she would have known. And I needed to hear that. I really needed to hear that. I really needed to know that if I shared my truth, it would be okay. A lot of times we don't share our truth because we don't know what people are going to say. We don't know if they're going to accept us. Are they still going to love me? Are they still going to be there for me? Will I still be my mama's baby? If I tell her what happened to me, well, the answer is yes. Yes, you will be. She's still going to love you. She's still going to wrap her arms around you. She's still going to hold you and tell you that she's sorry. And if you tell her and she doesn't, then find somebody else. As a mom today, I have a 17-year-old daughter myself. And I noticed a few years back that she had started cutting herself. And I didn't understand that. I didn't know anybody that ever tried to cut themselves. I just didn't. I'd seen it on television. But as far as in my own life, that was something that I never experienced before. And I was sad and I felt alone as a parent. And I felt like I did not know how to help my daughter. After talking with her to try to figure out what was going on with her, she was having two distinct issues. One, she was dealing with the fact that her father was not present. And number two, she was dealing with the fact that she had been molested by a friend of hers, big brother, and she'd never told anyone about it. So she shared those two things with me, and I was able to hold her, and I was able to let her cry, and we were able to deal with that. As a parent, being on the complete opposite end, as I was as the child being molested, as the parent, it was a totally different way of approach. So number one, I had to ask her, what did she want to do moving forward in regards to the molestation? And then number two, because as a parent, I just wanted to beat up everybody and go to jail because that's what we do as parents. But as her mom, I understood that it did not happen to me, it happened to her. And it was up to her to decide what she wanted to do next. And of course, I gave her options and things that, different options of things we can do moving forward. As far as with her father not being present, I was married to her father. And when we divorced, not only did he divorce me, but he divorced her. And for her, she was a daddy's girl. So it was very hard for her to deal with the divorce and the loss and the separation. And as she grew older, it was even harder for her because she wanted to be with him and she could not understand why he was not present. As a mom, I had daddy issues myself because I had a stepfather. Although my biological father was not present, and the only person that I really wanted to really show me love, to really be present, was him. And so I understood her emotionally, as far as that goes. With having issues with my father not being around, it showed up in other areas of my life as well as it did hers. Wanting a daddy, looking for a daddy in everyone else, wanting to be accepted, wanting to be loved, because most young girls deal with wanting that love from their father, and they put that in their lives, and they look for and measure that love from every other man, every other person. They measure it up to that. If you're rejected by your father, you tend to think that everyone else rejects you. That's not true. Sometimes not making an excuse for your father, although sometimes they're not mature enough to be a father, or they're simply don't know how to be a father, don't know how to be loved, never experienced love, or just is not and did not make the right choices concerning you. You cannot allow that to determine how you love yourself, how you allow yourself to be loved, or how you love other people. There comes a time in your life where you have to stop and make a conscious decision to live your life for you, in spite of who stays, who walks away, who loves you, who gives you what you need. You have to make that choice yourself, because if you do not, then you give the other person the power over your life. And the biggest and the hardest and the smartest and the best thing you could ever do is take your control back. Dealing with molestation, dealing with rape. Those are two of the biggest things that cause you to fight for control in your life, that can cause you to lose self-confidence, self-love, make you think that you're not worthy. I want you to know today that you are very much worthy of love and being loved. Don't let what happened to you affect what you do in this life, how you love you. The most important thing in the world to do is love yourself. If you do not love yourself, then you show other people that they don't have to. If you love yourself, then in turn, you are teaching other people how to treat you. Growing up as a kid, I talk about being very suicidal, and also being bullied in school. So my dad was on drugs really bad. My mom was the only person working, and she was going to school. So she decided to move us, my sister and myself, to my grandmother's house, and she lived somewhere else. My stepfather lived somewhere else, and my sister and I lived with my grandmother. One of the worst times of my life personally was living with my grandmother, because my grandmother didn't have a relationship with my mother. Therefore, she did not have a relationship with us, so she didn't necessarily care what happened to us. We would go to school, and even though my parents paid her and gave her money for us for lunch, she would not give us any money or anything for lunch. So when I went to school, I couldn't eat at school, and so I would go and sit at the back of the school during lunch, because I would be hungry for lunch. So in school, I was bullied a lot when we moved with my grandmother. The way that we lived before was not the best, but when we lived with my grandmother, it was the worst ever. So the things that I remember most about being bullied is being called possum or raccoon girl or all of these things. And I think that all of these things would not be as bad if I didn't believe them. So I would be sitting at my desk, and I remember one particular time the teacher left the room, and it was like a free-for-all. Like, I didn't talk. So it wasn't that I said anything. It was just pick on Adrian Day. And so the guys were just taking their turns. Possum girl, raccoon girl, you're ugly, you're this, you're that. It was just like, it had to have gone on for at least 10 or 15 minutes straight. And I just sat there and I didn't say a word. I just accepted it. And I didn't know how to deal with bullying, and I didn't know how to take up for myself or defend myself. And that came with me not having a voice and not having any confidence in myself. And so when they said these things to me, because I did have the darkness under my eyes, and because my teeth were not straight at the time, I had a lot of gaps, and my clothes were not name brand clothes, and I did not have on the newest J's or my hair done good or any of that. My clothes weren't ironed, any of that. So the things that they were saying to me, as far as my perception of them, was correct. I read a quote one time that said, if there's no enemy within, then the enemy without cannot harm you. So if there's nothing inside of you that actually believes what they're saying to you, then you won't take it personally and it won't hurt as much because you don't believe it anyway. Well, the thing with that and my self-confidence was I did believe I was ugly. I did believe I looked like a raccoon. I did believe I was a skunk, a possum. I did believe we didn't have money and we were poor and we didn't have good clothes. When the kids talked about where we lived, I did believe that. We did live in a shack. We did. That's who we were. And so when other people said that, because my confidence was not there, I was able to be taunted. I was able to be bullied because I believed it. The thing that I would like for you to know today is don't believe the hype. Don't believe the hype. Do not accept the things that people are saying about you as your truth. That's not your truth. Because they're saying it, it may be their truth. It might be their perception. It might be the way they view things. It might be the way they view you. But that does not mean that it's true. It does not mean that you're not beautiful. It does not mean that all of these wicked and crazy evil things that you take it inside and you hold them there and believe them. Don't believe the hype. Don't hold on to those negative images of you that other people spew on you. Do not accept those negative words that they are saying to you, because you know why? They're not God. And when God made you, he looked at you and he said, that's good. And when God made you, he took out the time to write about you in the scripture when he said, you are wonderfully and fearfully made. Yes, that's right. He was talking about you. So everything that anyone else brings to you, that is not your truth. And don't step in it. Don't live in it. Don't walk in it. That's not your truth. A lot of times we spend a lot of time worried about what other people think, what other people are doing, what other people are saying as it relates to you. One thing that I have learned more than anything is that I don't care what other people say. I care what I say. The thing that matters most to me in the back of my mind is, what are you telling yourself? What are you saying to yourself? And I've gotten into the habit of daily affirmations, looking in the mirror and telling myself, girl, you are cute. Girl, you are the bomb. Fire, girl, that's you. Even when I don't feel like that's me. Even when I don't have makeup on, or I'm sick and I haven't combed my hair, I don't have lashes on, I don't have my earrings on, my nails aren't done, I still look at myself and I tell myself, you are enough. Because somebody else might not tell me. Someone else might not tell you that you are enough. But you have to look at yourself and tell yourself you are enough. You have to look at yourself and believe in yourself and tell yourself, I believe in you, even when no one else does. There's a place inside of you that you can go to and you can pray and you can reach God, and he can heal places in your heart that other people cannot reach. You are amazing. You are wonderful. You've come this far, and guess what? You might have had bumps in the road. You might have had hiccups. My daughter doesn't cut herself anymore today because I'm present, because I make sure that I go in there and say, hey, how are you doing today? Is anything going on in your life that you need to talk about? I have not tried to commit suicide or take my own life because I realize that my life matters, that somewhere somebody is waiting on me to hear my story of victory, to hear my story of how I survived child molestation, to hear my story of how I survived a father on drugs, cocaine and heroin, how I survived living with my grandmother and going through bullying and not being accepted by my cousins or my grandmother or any of my family, how I got victory and made it through loneliness, and how I made it through my father being not there. Today, my father and I have a great relationship. Recently, he told me that he had been thinking about not being there for my sister and I was able to tell him, listen, that's gone. That's over. That's the past. You can't rewrite your past, but you can start today. You can start being the best dad that you can be today. And no, I don't need you as a little girl anymore. But at this age and stage in my life, I still need you. I still need my father. And I've given him the opportunity to be my father. In dealing with depression, studying depression, the one thing that I learned is the major cause, hear me when I say this, the major cause of depression is unforgiveness. And I know, this does not sound normal, but the major cause, textbook cause of depression is unforgiveness, which tells me that there are some things in our hearts that we have got to let go. Letting go is allowing yourself permission to lay it down, giving yourself permission to no longer hold on to the pain that others have caused you, that you hold in your heart. You want to be free from depression? Forgiveness is the number one answer. Forgiveness is not saying that what happened to you did not happen. No, that's not what forgiveness is saying. Forgiveness is not saying that the act that was committed against you did not happen. Forgiveness is saying that it happened to me, but I will not let what happened to me affect my life. I will not let what happened to me destroy me. So I'm going to forgive you. Forgiveness by its way of effect on you, that it no longer hurts me when I think about it. Forgiveness to the point to where I say, I will not allow the things that you've done to me to kill my soul, to destroy my heart. Does that mean that you have to go to dinner with them? No, that's not what that means. What that means is, I forgive you, but I no longer have to deal with you. I choose. My choice. When I see you, I can be cordial. I can speak to you if I want to, and I don't have to if I don't want to. I'm not holding any ill will against you. I'm not mad at you anymore. I'm just done, and I forgive you, and I release you to go on about your business and to no longer dwell in my heart. So those are the things that I wanted to talk about today. I hope that I helped you. I hope that I said something that can make you think today. I hope that you know that you can recover from anything. I was raped when I was 22. I was first molested when I was 3 until I was about 5 or 6. I saw my sister raped when she was 6. I grew up with my dad being addicted to crack and heroin. I was bullied. I was talked about. I was poor. But I'm here. And I made it. And you can too. And the things that you've experienced are not the end of your life. They're not the end of your life. They made you stronger. And you can use those things that were once your pain as your strength. You can use your voice, take your voice back, and use your voice to help other young girls around you. What you went through for a reason. What you experienced it, and you lived to survive it. What happened, it happened. And we're not pretending like it didn't happen. Everything dressed up is not healed. But what we are doing is we're taking the layers off, and we're taking the mask off, and we're saying, I was hurt, I was abused, I sometimes feel alone, but I'm learning me. I'm learning how to love me, and I'm knowing that I matter. I am important. I am amazing. I am special. I am a survivor, and I survived because of something, and I will spend the rest of my life figuring out what that is. And when I figure out what that is, I'm going to help somebody else. I'm going to walk them home. Again, my name is Adrienne Heights. I wish I was there with you guys, but I definitely will see you guys next year if the Lord is willing. You guys have a good day. You can reach me on Facebook, on Rip the Bandage, or Instagram, Rip_the Bandage, or you can call me 214-531-7222.